Welcome to History with Herodotus, where the past comes alive through the stories of those who shaped it. Today, we embark on a fascinating journey to 19th century Europe to explore one of the most pivotal events in modern history, the Congress of Vienna. This gathering of powerful leaders would reshape the continent, redrawing borders and redefining the balance of power. As we delve into this captivating tale, imagine yourself transported to the grand city of Vienna, with its ornate palaces and bustling streets, where the fate of Europe hung in the balance. In the early 19th century, Europe was a tumultuous landscape, still reeling from the aftermath of the French Revolution and the conquests of Napoleon Bonaparte. The French Empire, under Napoleon's leadership, had expanded its dominion over much of Europe, leaving in its wake a trail of upheaval and discontent. As the empire began to crumble, the great powers of Europe saw an opportunity to redefine the continent and establish a new order. One key figure who would play a significant role in shaping this new order was Prince Clemens von Metternich, the cunning and experienced statesman from Austria. Metternich had long been a thorn in Napoleon's side, using his diplomatic prowess to undermine French interests and forge alliances with other European powers. As the French Empire weakened, Metternich saw a chance to not only restore Austrian influence, but also to create a more stable and balanced Europe. Meanwhile, another crucial player was emerging on the scene: Tsar Alexander I of Russia. The Tsar had been a key ally of Napoleon during the early years of his conquests, but as the French Empire's power grew, Alexander began to see the dangers of Napoleonic expansion. He switched sides, joining the coalition against France and becoming a major force in shaping the post-Napoleonic era. As the Allies, comprising Russia, Austria, Britain, and their smaller allies, pushed the French back, they began to discuss the future of Europe. The idea of a grand Congress, where all the major powers would gather to redraw the map and establish a new balance of power, started to take shape. This vision was largely driven by Metternich, who saw an opportunity to create a system of collective security where the great powers would work together to maintain stability and prevent future wars. The city of Vienna, with its rich history and cultural splendor, would provide the backdrop for this drama as the fate of Europe hung in the balance. As we move closer to the opening of the Congress, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation, as diplomats, monarchs, and statesmen from across the continent prepared to shape the future of Europe. The winter of 1814 to 1815 was a time of great expectation, as the news of Napoleon's defeat spread throughout Europe. The French emperor's abdication in April 1814 had marked the beginning of a new era, one that would be defined by the negotiations and agreements forged at the Congress of Vienna. As the delegates began to arrive in Vienna, they were greeted by the city's grandeur, its ornate palaces and opera houses, and the sound of music and laughter filling the air. The scene was set for a historic gathering, one that would change the course of European history forever. As the Congress prepared to convene, the major powers were already staking out their positions, each seeking to advance their own interests and secure their place in the new European order. Metternich, ever the master diplomat, was working tirelessly behind the scenes, forging alliances and negotiating agreements that would shape the future of the continent. The Tsar, meanwhile, was pushing for a strong Russian presence in Eastern Europe, while the British were focused on maintaining the balance of power and preventing any one nation from dominating the others. As the Congress of Vienna formally convened on September 25, 1814, the city was abuzz with activity, its grand halls and salons filled with the sound of lively debates and discreet negotiations. Metternich, ever the master of ceremonies, had carefully choreographed the proceedings to ensure a sense of dignity and solemnity, while also allowing for the necessary give and take of diplomatic horse trading. The Tsar, resplendent in his ornate uniform, made a grand entrance, his presence commanding attention and respect from the assembled dignitaries. One of the earliest and most significant challenges facing the Congress was the question of Poland, which had been partitioned and occupied by Russia, Prussia, and Austria during the Napoleonic Wars. The Tsar, determined to maintain Russian control over the region, proposed the creation of a Polish kingdom under Russian auspices, with himself as its ruler. However, this plan was met with resistance from Britain, which feared that a Russian-dominated Poland would upset the balance of power in Eastern Europe. As Lord Castlereagh, The British Foreign Secretary astutely observed, "The question of Poland is not merely a matter of territorial adjustment, but a test of the principles of justice and equality that must guide our deliberations." Meanwhile, the French delegation, led by Talleyrand Périgord, was working to secure a more favorable settlement for France, which had been forced to cede significant territory and influence in the aftermath of Napoleon's defeat. Talleyrand, a master of intrigue and manipulation, skillfully played on the fears and rivalries of the other powers, seeking to drive a wedge between Britain and Russia, while also exploiting the differences between Metternich and the Tsar. As he wryly remarked, "The art of diplomacy is not about being loved, but about being feared, and I have no intention of being loved by anyone at this Congress." On October 3, 1814, the Congress took a significant step towards resolving the Polish question with the signing of a preliminary agreement that established the outlines of a new Polish state. However, this compromise was soon threatened by the Tsar's insistence on Russian control over the region, which led to a series of tense and sometimes acrimonious debates. The atmosphere was further complicated by the arrival of Napoleon's former marshals, who were seeking to secure their own futures and fortunes in the new European order. As the Congress entered its second month, the pace of negotiations accelerated, with the major powers engaging in a complex dance of alliances and rivalries. On November 11, 1814, the British and French delegations signed a secret agreement which provided for the restoration of the Bourbon monarchy in France and the recognition of French territorial claims. This move was seen as a significant blow to Russian influence, and the Tsar responded by forming an alliance with Prussia and Austria, aimed at countering British and French power. The winter months saw a flurry of diplomatic activity, with the Congress addressing a wide range of issues, from the future of Germany and Italy to the question of slavery and the rights of smaller states. On December 20, 1814, the Congress adopted a resolution condemning the slave trade, which was seen as a significant moral victory for the British delegation. However, this achievement was soon overshadowed by the news of Napoleon's escape from Elba, which sent shockwaves throughout Europe and threatened to derail the entire Congress. As the news of Napoleon's escape from Elba sent shockwaves throughout Europe, the Congress of Vienna was thrown into turmoil. The delegates, who had been nearing a final agreement, were now faced with the prospect of renewed war and instability. Despite this, they persevered, recognizing that their work was crucial to establishing a lasting peace. On February 26, 1815, the Congress signed the Treaty of Vienna, which formally ended the Napoleonic Wars and reorganized Europe according to the principles of legitimacy and balance of power. The treaty marked a significant turning point in European history, as it established a new order that would shape the continent for over a century. The Congress of Vienna had achieved its primary goal of containing French expansionism and restoring the pre-Napoleonic order, but it also created a system of alliances and rivalries that would lead to future conflicts. As the British diplomat Lord Castlereagh noted, "The great object of our policy is to maintain the balance of power and to prevent any one state from becoming too powerful for the rest." This delicate balance would be tested in the years to come. As European powers navigated the complexities of diplomacy and warfare, in the aftermath of the Congress, Europe experienced a period of relative peace and stability, often referred to as the Congress system. This system, which relied on regular meetings and negotiations between European powers, helped to prevent major conflicts and maintain the balance of power. However, it also created an environment in which smaller states and nationalist movements were suppressed, leading to growing tensions and resentment. As the years passed, the legacy of the Congress of Vienna became increasingly complex and multifaceted. Some historians have viewed it as a triumph of diplomacy and statecraft, while others have criticized its failure to address the underlying issues that led to the Napoleonic Wars. The Congress has also been seen as a symbol of reaction and conservatism, as it sought to restore the old order and suppress liberal and nationalist movements. Today, the Congress of Vienna is remembered as a pivotal moment in European history, one that shaped the course of international relations for over a century. Its impact can be seen in the modern system of diplomacy, the balance of power, and the ongoing struggle between nationalism and international cooperation. As the historian Henry Kissinger has noted, The Congress of Vienna was a landmark event in the evolution of the international system, as it marked the transition from a world dominated by a single power to one characterized by a balance of power among several states. The Congress of Vienna's legacy serves as a reminder that the pursuit of peace and stability is an ongoing process, one that requires constant negotiation, compromise, and adaptation. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.